Hello and welcome back to Noxcast, an Equinox news recap podcast. I'm your host, Charlotte King. I'm the managing executive editor of the Equinox.
And I'm Nathan Hope. I'm the news editor of the Equinox, and this week we're joined by one of our copy editors, Justin Dearborn.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. To start off, do you want to just talk a little bit about what goes into being a copy editor for the Equinox?
Yeah. So there's kind of two parts to it. One part is sort of like throughout the weekend, as stories come in, I sort of like read over them and sort of like make any edits or suggestions that need to be made. And then most of what we do happens on Tuesday night with layout of the newspaper. And so me and Jaden Johnson, the other copy editor, I love her, we work together to like read everything that's going to be in the paper that week and just make any like last minute edits, like grammar, spelling, punctuation, that kind of stuff. Or like if there's like more like bigger things that needs to be fixed, we kind of just go through and do that. And yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. You know, because I mean, we have our section editors, you know, an editor dedicated to each part of the paper, but you guys as the copy editors combined with, you know, me and Nicole and our executive roles kind of end up forming the last line of defense, if you will, in terms of like, you know, if anything is off, whether it's just, you know, basic accuracy or just any kind of, you know, weirdness that can come about through the editing process in terms of a story's structure or, you know, grammar, how a sentence, really anything that goes into the news writing process, like just trying to really hammer down everything and make that, you know, as good as it can possibly be. But so, yeah, we're super happy to have both you and Jaden in the copy editor role because super valuable. And you wrote two stories this week, one of them being the top story of news. So we'll kind of jump into that as part of our natural order of things. But also just to kind of highlight having you here. So do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about the story you worked on for news this week?
Yes. So my story sort of was born because there was a restaurant in downtown Keene, Yasso Jamaican Grill, that closed down its storefront. It's still around doing like food truck and like catering things, but they closed down the actual store. And so the idea of the story is sort of using that to talk about like diversity of food options in the area, especially with like cultural cuisines. So I sort of got to talk to some of the students here, some of the international students that are part of the Global Cultural Club, and we just sort of talked about like ways that cultural diversity of cuisine could be improved here at the school or just in general in Keene, and some like things that are already going on.
The story concept is a good example of what like solutions-based journalism could be, where you don't just report on the fact that it closed, but then also talk to people who might, you know, have ideas of how it can be improved or are already starting initiatives in terms of improving a certain area. And so I think that in conjunction with our editorial, which was also about the story, really kind of drove home the point of, you know, despite this restaurant closure, you know, there's still a desire for diverse cuisine in Keene. We just think that it's something that should be continuing to talk about that and really just recognize that, you know, it is hard to have a restaurant here, but it's still important and it's still a great initiative and part of even all of the diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts that the college does. And there's things that can be done both in the college and on the city level to combat the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think to continue to loop in that angle that we talked about in our editorial discussion of, you know, almost kind of looking at the college as an aspect of the Keene community, a resource to the, you know, particularly the people on campus, obviously, who are part of the Keene community, you know, trying to look at angles where the college can maybe provide an area for that diverse cuisine to thrive, because, you know, as we're seeing, it can definitely be difficult to maintain a storefront and have that be something that lasts into perpetuity. And so, I'm glad definitely that Yasso is continuing to be around and be part of the community as they focus on their catering services. But in terms of providing, at the very least, students here with the opportunity to branch out and connect with other cultures through food, which is such an important part of any community. I think that some of the resources that were highlighted in your article, Justin, and that we also discussed a little bit in editorial, some of those resources on campus, we mentioned the United Table at the Dining Commons, or some of the different programming that the Global Cultural Club has worked on. I think that those are really good ways to kind of reach out to the student body and say, hey, there are still options. There's still ways that we can connect with these different, types of food, because, Keene's a big place in terms of the scale of our small state. It's not some huge metropolitan city, but as far as New Hampshire goes, it's, reasonably notable. And I think it's definitely valuable for it to have places that people can go to connect with members of their community who are from those other cultures.
And then in terms of like why this matters for us as like a college media organization is that, downtown is the place basically where students go and can it's in walking distance, and any business that, closes their physical location is definitely impacts students. But then also in this case, Yasso was a restaurant that was also partnered with the Black Student Union. And so that's definitely probably somewhat impactful to them to lose the physical location. But again, the other services are carrying on, which is good to see. But, downtown is a big part of, I think, the Keene State student experience. And they do highlight that during admissions tours. And so having, the thriving downtown and having just the vibrancy really is important to the student body, I think. And so that's why I thought it'd be good to get this story out there from, our perspective as a student publication. And I think you did a good job on that, Justin.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add about this story?
I think for me, one of my favorite parts about doing the story was sort of getting the perspective from international students, because really food is such an important part of culture, and I think it really forms a sense of home. Like if you think about like college students like going home for like breaks, like it's so exciting to go home and like have food that's like cooked by your family, and it's like it really like makes you feel like you're at home. And I just think it's so important for international students to have something here that can sort of like make them feel comfortable, and that's something that I really got from talking to the students. I really really enjoyed doing that.
Definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so as we spoke about, you also wrote another article this week. So kind of jumping around into arts and entertainment territory a little sooner than we would. But I wanted to talk about, you had another article that I felt was very impactful, talking about the NAFME Candy Cane fundraiser that they did, raising money for leukemia cure research, and talked to some people who shared stories about their connection to that topic. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to also talk about that.
Yeah. So NAFME does a lot of different fundraising events throughout the year. And so different events have different charities. And this one, they chose to do leukemia cure research. And from doing that story, I really got the idea that, pretty much everybody now has either been directly affected or somebody in their life has been affected, by cancer. So it's a cause that is really important to a lot of people. So I think it was a really good choice. And so talking to the people involved with that, I got that sense as well. And especially, I found out that it was really important to the music department as a whole, because they lost some people related to the department due to cancer recently. So yeah, it was just really good experience to hear about what it meant to the people involved with that.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think that it is just really special in my eyes to see them do that every year and kind of make such a lasting tradition out of the want to, I mean, just better the world, but also on that kind of localized level, the fact that it is something that has such a direct impact on their department, on the people that they see every day, being able to kind of embody the sense of trying to give back. I think that's really special. And so I also really enjoyed the work that you did on that one.
Thank you.
Did you have anything about that?
Yeah, it's good whenever student organizations can really get out there and advocate for and support a cause that's important to them. And I think, with given the connections to the music department, it's clearly something that matters a lot to these students in particular, and they kind of understand the importance of just taking that sadness and some of that grief and kind of turning it into what can we do about this. So I think it's a very noble cause, and it's good that they did that, and I'm glad that you're able to cover that.
All right, with that, I think we can loop back around to the rest of our top stories, starting with our region state top story from this week, which is a Keene Sentinel article for spotlighting a teenager in the area, Gaetano Martin, who is a little bit of a violin prodigy almost. It was really amazing to read her story. So she's been playing violin every single day for a decade. She's 16 years old. And so from age 6, I think it was, she was challenged initially to play for 100 days in a row and then just never stopped. And, has gone on to, really connect with the Keene music community. Mentioned some of the work that she's done with Apple Hill, as well as connecting with some people in the Keene State Music Department. I know one of the names that was mentioned in the article was Don Baldini, who was a super prominent figure in kind of just, the regional music scene in general. But yeah, really amazing to just kind of be able to spotlight a young person who has that level of passion for the art that she's pursuing, and has been able to really make a connection and an impact in that sort of localized music scene and community.
Yeah, I think sometimes people in older generations might think kids nowadays aren't as talented or gifted, or they're not as driven as they were before because of all this technology and whatever. And but I think this is a good example of just one student and one person who, they kind of exemplify that, people as always are still talented, still able to be passionate and work on things. And also this, of course, demonstrates, the importance as a musician or any artist and anything is just keep on practicing, keep on, making sure the mind is sharp in that area. And I think that's really paid off for this person clearly, and being such a big part of the community at, an earlier age is just a great thing to see. And obviously picking a story like this to be the top story in Region State, some of that Keene State connection is in there, but really just highlighting someone, who's local to the city where, all the students go to. And so it was great to highlight her.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, really inspirational. I kind of love to see kids that are so good at something and so motivated to achieve goals and what they do. It kind of feels like you're seeing somebody it's like the future that's coming up, and it's just really cool.
Definitely. And then our top story from student life this week is spotlighting the annual Red and White Night, which is kind of just a big function for seniors to get together at the dining common and just kind of celebrate. Being a senior is such a big achievement. College can be tough, man. And so, getting together and just kind of having a breather a little bit, especially with, finals coming up and the pressure being on for a lot of people. I think it's just an opportunity for the people who have been working that hard for the longest to let loose a little bit.
Yeah, it's always a big event every year, and I think it's kind of rarer to see in college rather than you might see in high school, these events that are tailored just to like one class. But I think you see kind of the importance of being able to celebrate as, a collective, like all the seniors. It's kind of rare to see people get together just around that characteristic. In college, it's more tailored to like specific majors or interests a lot of the time, but I think it's a great event to get together at, and it's been a tradition for quite some time. And also I think it's a great event to take photos at, it seems like. So I'm glad Elena our photo editor, was able to go there and sort of grab some photos of people in the red and the white attire. And she also took photos last year, and I just think every year it's been cool to see sort of, people getting dressed for the event and really kind of showing both, the pride and sort of being celebratory. It's just great to see.
Yeah, I'm a first year student, so it's still pretty far away from me. But seniors, they really deserve a chance to enjoy themselves because I'm only one semester in, and this is really hard. So they've been through a lot, and they deserve the chance to, have fun, be happy, all that stuff.
Yeah, gives you something to look forward to, though, right?
Yeah, it does.
And then for our arts and entertainment top story this week, the big production came around. Justin, you had done the preview for this, which was also really cool to see. But this time, Next to Normal, it opened, and I definitely heard a lot of buzz about this while it was going on. But yeah, a musical production from the theater and dance department. Next to Normal is, I think, at this point, a fairly kind of tried and true show. That's my understanding, but it's cool to see it come to Keene State. And again, one of the things that we highlighted when we were talking about the preview that Justin worked on was so much just student input going into this one. Like there were really so many facets that theater students kind of put in their all and pulled this together and made it a reality. So, just cool to see it kind of come to fruition and debut in front of the public and let everybody have a chance to see what these theater kids have been working on.
Yeah, and just all the productions that they do over there are always so unique, and I feel like they always strive to do something different. And I gotta say, for this article, Ryan Pacheco, our senior reporter, did a brilliant job as always. He's very good at sort of just not only talking about the topic of the production and sort of what the plot is and things like that, but really getting the insight into what went into this and what is the importance for both the performers and also for people in the audience, the viewers, and what they thought about that. And I think it's greatly valuable to sort of just everybody to, one, get the word out that these things are happening. This isn't the first, it's not the last production of the academic year. So I think, letting people know that these things are going on, but then also sort of just highlighting some great student work. And I think, these articles are always very, in depth, and there's a reason why they're always top story. And again, great opportunity for photos. It's always great, layout wise on the page. So yeah, I was happy with how everything turned out with that.
Yeah, after doing the preview a few weeks ago, I was really, really excited to see the show. I knew I wanted to see it. It just sounded so cool. And especially like when it was happening after opening night, I heard so many good things about it. And I was like, really gonna be something to see. So I did go see it. It was amazing. Two things I thought were really good. The singing was amazing, and the set design was really, really cool. It was a great show. And then with Ryan, yeah, his writing is really good. As an editor, it's kind of like you see Ryan's story come up, and you kind of like you breathe a little bit more because you know you don't have to make a lot of edits to it because it's really good. So yeah, it was an amazing show, amazing article.
Yeah, definitely one where we can just kind of fire on all cylinders, and I always love to see that come together. And I'll add on to the shout outs to Ryan all day, but I also want to shout out Elena because as we said, also took photos of this and took and edited so many photos. I had so much material to work with for the layout. It was amazing, and I definitely tried to put together something that kind of was maybe a little more extravagant than what we do for the general weekly layout because like you say, I mean these productions are always going to be A&E top story inevitably unless something like crazy else were to happen like unexpected, but it's an easy top story and just definitely it's so visually just it pulls you in so much that yeah, definitely as an editor I find myself wanting to try and put together just something as unique and really hit the storytelling of the article and the photos combined. So yeah, great work all around. And I think that lands us at our sports top story for this week, which is a piece from our sports editor Jakob Ensko, former Noxcast guest. And yeah, this is just kind of checking in a little bit about the fact that the extra eligibility that athletes were afforded as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic is now coming to a close. So people who were afforded additional time to be a student athlete, are now. So we're primarily kind of focusing on, people who are like fifth years now, who came in as first years during that kind of period of time where that eligibility was being extended, and just kind of seeing what impact that's had and what the future might kind of hold in that regard.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, despite most people considering the COVID-19 pandemic over that, this is sort of just one of the last like vestiges of that as to people came in 2020 and then weren't able to have their first real collegiate athletics season no matter what sport that they played, and to sort of just make up for that, the idea was to guarantee that they would get that year back in some way. And so I think it's good that they have allowed this to happen for as many people as this is affected, whether they were going into college or already in college, or it would have been their last year. And I hope that, athletes were able to feel some sort of sense of that they still got that full experience, because, not just athletics, but they definitely got a big piece of the normal college experience kind of robbed from them. Not for, anybody's singular fault, but this was just a way to sort of make sure that they had the time that they were kind of promised or they had felt they were going to get before, global pandemic struck. So it is going to end, but this is the last year of it. And so it's just something to recognize. And, we currently have people who are, fifth year students who were affected by it.
Yeah, I can't speak too much on the sports side of it all, but I can talk about sort of the impact of the pandemic. My class was going into high school, freshman year of high school, really, that was the year that we were really affected by COVID, and it did kind of feel like we lost a year. It was hard transitioning into high school even. Um, we didn't get the kind of transition that everybody else got, so we missed out on a lot. And I imagine it was even harder for college students who were coming into college at that time. So I think it was really good that they sort of got that year back. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think, any way in which any school system really, like you say, definitely affected just everybody down the line. But in the case of a college or university, like, any way in which they could try to give people that year back, it's the kind of thing where realistically, once time is spent, it's spent. But I do think that trying to provide those opportunities was just a really kind move for those athletes who, a lot of them have done great things and really achieved a lot in the time that they've been allotted. And so, I'm glad it's one of those things where it's ending now, but we can be glad that it happened. I think that about wraps it up for our news recap for this week. Thank you, as always, for watching Noxcast. Join us next week for another news recap. I also want to extend very special thanks to the composer of the music for Noxcast, our very own Equinox alum, Zach Keenan, the designer of the Noxcast graphic, our very own Equinox staff, Elijah Fisher, as well as the editor of Noxcast, our very own multimedia director, Jakob Hall. Until next time, I've been Charlotte King.
And I've been Nathan Hope, and thanks again to Justin for joining us.
Thank you. I had fun.